Guys, today's a big one because I'm going to take you as a renter, get you into a house, and I'm going to show you how in a few years you can massively change your wealth.
You better get fired up.
All right, so right now, if you're looking in Port St. Lucie, a typical, not amazing, but just a house that you're going to rent is going to cost you about $2,500 a month, right? You might be able to get it for 22, 23. It might be 27, 28, but 25 is right where kind of the starter homes are. You're not going to get anything miraculous. You're not going to get 2,500 square feet. You're probably not going to get a pool, but you can get a pretty decent place for 2,500. So I'm seeing a lot of people here locally rent out properties at $2,500 a month, right? So I got to thinking, hey, when you rent, you need first, last, and deposit. That's 3 times the monthly, which is $7,500 in this very typical rental scene for a Port St. Lucie resident, right? As a credit score, you only need a 500 to be able to purchase a home. Now, I will say there's a lot of caveats with that. Once you hit about that 580, 600 credit score, that's where it really starts to take off and get a lot easier to purchase a home. And there's a million variables to what I just said that I'm not going to go into. But really what I'm trying to do is show you, my God, if I can do anything, I want to show one renter how if you can get out of renting and get into owning a home, it will drastically change your life forever. Will you have the perfect home? Probably not. If you can barely afford 2,500, probably not. But once you live in that not so perfect home, which guess what? That rental is not going to be perfect anyway. You're going to see that over the span of 5, 8, 10 years, you're in a wealth position that you never would have been in as a renter. And now you've got worlds of opportunities, worlds of choices in front of you that you never would have had before as a renter, right? And I think what happens, and this isn't obviously true for everybody, but I think it's true for the majority of people, is if you've only been around renters, if your parents were renters, your friends were renters, all of you growing up, your whole friend group was filled with renters, you just think, hey, we got to rent. That's the way we got to do it, right? There's things with my childhood that I grew up into, and it wasn't until I got older and I got around bigger and better people who had different standards, better standards than the standards that were held by the people that I grew up with, that I didn't change my mind, right? I hadn't changed my mind until I got around those people. So it happens. So today I'm hoping, whether this is the first rep of several that gets you to the point where you get out of that rental and get into a house, or maybe this is the last rep. Maybe you've heard it 7 times already, and this is the one that clicks, and you say, Joe, let's do this. I need to get into a home. I need to start building wealth. Today I'm going to run numbers, and I'm going to show you exactly what a home on the numbers I'm talking about looks like. And then I'm going to show you the numbers after, let's say, 10 years and what would be in your bank account. What would those 2 bank accounts look like renting for 10 years versus owning for 10 years, right? So first of all, I ran a particular home because I want you to be able to see a very specific house so you can envision what it looks like. And when I ran the numbers, the payment, and I'll explain the math and everything, came out to $2,522. It's about as close to 2,500 as I could get, right? So I'm going to share a screen here. And I purposely wanted to ensure that I brought up a home that had a new roof. So this home's been renovated. It's got a new roof. Let me look at one thing beforehand. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath. Now already people are going to say, oh my gosh, I can't live in a 2-bed, 1-bath. Can you live at age 55 with no money in your bank account? Can you live on Social Security, which they're talking about cutting or raising the age limit, or a little bit of both before you can get? Can you do that, right? I'm talking to you as I talk to my daughters. Quit depending on the government. Quit hoping and a praying. Quit going after the convenient, comfortable thing, and take control of your future, right? Purchase something, invest in something that's going to help you for the rest of your life. So right now I'm showing you this property right here. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, and they're asking $289. How long has it been on? It's been on 20 days. So let's take a look at what a $289 house will get you. This is a Port St. Lucie home. It's got a brand new roof. You can see it's cute, right? It's a cute little house. It's got nice little landscaping around it. It's got a nice little yard. We got some mature trees, sidewalks out there. You got a place for your vehicle there on the right side. Okay. And again, the major cost most people are concerned about is the roof. This one's been taken care of. You're not going to need a roof for 20 years. They got new mulch in there. You can see they just redid the landscaping. There again is that nice mature tree. You've got a pretty spacious yard, especially for Port St. Lucie here. You've got that nice covered area that you can do a lot of different things with, whether you put your car in there, you store things. They got the lean-to on the left side here. So you've got more storage area, which is really nice. Okay, we've got a tile floor. I know a lot of people aren't fans of carpet. Boom, you got tile. That's great. Typical closets. They look like they're probably smaller bedrooms. Look at that, right? We're looking at the cheapest home I could find that had a newer roof and looked like a decent home. And you've still got some upgrades. The bathroom's been upgraded. They've got tile in the tub area. You've got a nice new mirror, nice new lighting. Looks like you got a new vanity in there. And guys, this is not my listing. I'm not trying to sell this home to you. I'm trying to show you what doing exactly the same thing financially you would be doing with a rental. If you were to do that with a home, it would completely change your life. And again, you might be looking at this and saying, oh, I can get a rental I like better. I'm not going to do this. Yeah, but for that convenience, for that extra bedroom or for that extra 300 square feet or for the, closed garage instead of the open garage or whatever it is, that comfort is costing you long-term wealth and it's keeping you in the very challenging financial position you're in. I just want to help you get out of that, man. It would absolutely make my day. So you can see the whole home is very similar looking through it. Like there's nothing, all the flooring's the same, all the colors are the same, the lighting's very similar. Here's a covered area. Or this is a screened area here. There's your kitchen. You can see the cabinets on the one side. And then there's your fridge over there. There's your sink, tons of cabinet space. Here's your stove and oven, microwave above, stainless steel appliance package. There's your fridge, tons of cabinets. And there you go. There it is. So that right there is $289. So let's start running some numbers. This is a 2-bed, 2-bath. And it's got a brand new roof. It's not in an association, so you don't have an HOA fee. It's $289. So down payment, there's a couple different loan options, and I don't want to bore you with loan options here, but I will say, depending upon what type of loan you do, you're probably going to be in the $8,600 to $10,000 down range. On a $2,500 rental, you're going to need $7,500 anyway. So really, you're only looking at $1,000 to $2,500 more. Okay, and that gets you into home ownership and wealth building. And you can use your family and friends in different situations, depending upon the product and how, far ahead of the game you're letting the lender know, so you can kind of build this strategy. You can do different things to get help. So if you need help financially, friends, family, they can help you. There's different ways to do it, right? But you got to let the lender know ahead of time. So now I looked at a 7% rate. Hey, rates are high, Joe. I can't afford a place. Great. We're looking at a nice, high, normal. You can get this 7% rate. I'm assuming you're putting 3.5% down on an FHA loan. I'm assuming your insurance is around $3,000. Maybe it's a hair higher. Maybe it's a hair lower. Your taxes are $5,000. And I've got you at $1,855 a month for principal and interest, plus another $667 a month for your taxes and insurance, totaling $2,522, almost exactly $2,500. Okay. Now here's the thing. Over the years, right? We're going to take a 10-year span and run the math here. Over the years, your principal and interest, that $1,855, it never changes. Yes, your taxes may go up, but if you're homestead, which means it's your primary residence, it's the place you live, it's capped at 3% a year. Guess what's not capped at 3% a year? And you've actually been impacted by this recently. Rental increases. We've seen rentals go up 50%, 75%, 100% in a single year over the last 4 years. It has crushed people. And for me, I hate to see it. It's one of the reasons that I do these videos probably once every 2-3 months. And I just, every single time I want to get one renter away from renting and into actually owning a home. Guys, I know it's scary. I know maybe you've never been exposed to somebody who's done this. If you know and trust me, if you like and trust me, I'm telling you, I will walk you through this with your specific numbers and make you feel so comfortable with this before you take a step forward. But man, it would make my day if you did. So you're 25, 22. So let's talk about 10 years. Okay. In the one situation as a rental, you're putting down 7,500. Here on this property, let's say you're putting down 10 grand. That's the higher of what I think you'd have to put down. Let's assume you're not getting any help or nothing. Okay, so there's a little added challenge of having to get a couple grand extra. Okay, you can all do it. Every single person here can do it. I've seen people making $500,000 a year set aside 15, 20%, which you're probably saying, well, of course it's easy. Okay, 100 grand, I've seen them put 15, 20%. Well, of course it's easy, Joe. I've seen a janitor who never made more than $30,000 a year consistently put aside 20%. And when this janitor, this wasn't through real estate, this was through stocks, had retired at 65 years old, he had over $1 million in the bank off a less than $30,000 a year salary for his entire life. Now, did it suck? And were there things he missed out on? And could he have bought a little bit nicer car, a little bit nicer clay? Absolutely. Absolutely. But by giving up little comforts, which I'm telling you, once you do this, I did this when I first got married, right? And I was 27 years old. And I told my wife, until we have 100 grand in the bank and no debt, we're not buying a car. So we're going to go on, walk dates, or maybe we go to the grocery store and we buy the $3.50 cheese instead of the $2.50 cheese, and we'll build a little charcuterie board, and that's our date in our living room. And that's it. That's what we're doing. We're not spending money on anything until we get 100 grand in that bank account and no debt. And we worked our butts off. And I'll tell you, for the first couple months, you felt the loss of the comfort, of the conveniences, of the fun, of the entertainment. But after literally 2-3 months, you almost became prideful in being a person who didn't need those things. And you would look at, or at least we did, you would look at other people and say, man, those guys think they need this fancy car, but all it's doing is draining their wealth. They think they need these fancy clothes. We don't love them anymore because of it, right? We like them or dislike them because of who they are. That doesn't really change. And entertainment, as soon as it's over, it's kind of out the window. I can't even tell you what I did last weekend unless I really sat down and thought about it. So you start to see that, which honestly helps you in life. So now you're saving this money. You're really not missing out on as much as you think you're going to miss out on. It'll hurt for a month or two. After that, you'll be used to it. You will not care. I promise you. And now you're able to start building wealth. So let's talk about what that wealth building looks like. So the first year that you're renting, okay, you're going to be out $2,500 times 12, which is $30,000. Okay. Now the second year, rent on average, we're going to say is going to go up 3%. So 1% on $30,000 is going to be, well, we'll just say 3% is going to be around $1,000, right? I think that ends up being about 3 1/3%, but it's close enough for numbers. So year 2, you're at 31 grand. Year 3, you're at 32 grand. Year 4, you're at 33 grand. Why? Because rent continues to go up and up and up. The next year, 34 grand, 35 grand, 36 grand. Am I getting high enough yet where I can 2, 3, we'll just keep it going $1,000. I'm doing light numbers here, to be honest with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll do one more. So the last year, we're going from $38,000 to $39,000 a year. Okay. So when I add all of these up, little math trick I learned back in the day, I can take that times 10. You're looking at $345,000 is what went out of your pocket. Now, I'm not going to count the $7,500 for the first, last, and deposit, because I'm assuming that you're getting it back at the end, right? And you're not getting back your first, but you didn't have to pay your first because of it. And you're not getting back your last, but you didn't have to pay your last because of it. But I'm assuming you're getting back your deposit. And if not, it's such a small amount. It's $2,500. It's kind of a wash, right? I'm not really worried about that in the scheme of things here. So you're at $345 out of pocket. Is there anything else? Assuming you never moved, because we're going to assume you never moved with the purchase either, then you are still at $345,000 out of pocket. Now let's talk about your purchase. Okay. You're at $2,500 a month there. which brings you to $30,000. Now that 1855 will never go up, but let's assume that the other portion, the 667, that's going up at 3% as well, right? Your taxes almost assuredly will. And I don't see insurance coming down, to be honest with you. So let's look at that 667 times 0.03. You're looking at about $20 a month times 12. It'll go up about $250 a year. Okay. So I'm going to say 30, 30, 30, and then after I have 4 of them, I'm going to add another grand to make up for that 250 a year increase times 4. Okay. And then we got 4 31s. And then we got a 32. That way we're bumping it up for that increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here we're 308 out of pocket. Not quite the 345. Why? Because we didn't have the increase in rent that a renter is going to see consistently. A homeowner's not going to see that. Have you ever had a grandfather, grandmother, or some older friends, and they bought their property 26 years ago, and you're like, what's your mortgage payment? Oh, it's $511. I know that $2,500 sounds like a lot right now, but in 26 years, it's going to sound like $511. You're going to be like, whoa, that's crazy. I paid $12,350. That's what it's going to do. Now, you also won't be making 50, 60 grand a year. You'll be making 150 a year, which will be equivalent to 50, 60 grand a year, right? So you're 308 out of pocket. But whoa, Joe, there's some costs that you have to take on with home ownership that you don't have to take on with being a renter. Yeah, you're right. There are. And I would say on average, you're probably looking at about 1.5% plus every 20 years the cost of a roof. So I'm going to add in, now here you're not going to have a roof because I just found a home that's got a newer roof, right? So here I'm just going to add in the 1.5%. 1.5% on a property that today you bought it for $289. Okay. And I'm going to go, I don't think you can see my calculator, but I'm going to go 289, and we're going to assume just a mere 3% increase in home prices. Why? Because that's what we assumed in rentals, and they tend to mirror each other, right? As rentals go up, home prices go up. Rentals don't really come down a whole lot, and home prices don't really come down a lot either. People think they do, but as soon as they do, they come right back up. So 289 times 1.03 is 297. That's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. After 4 years, after 5 years, your 289 home is worth 335. 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, and after 10 years of 3% increases, your home is worth, if my math is correct here, 388, 391. I'm just going to cut that off at an even 388. Okay. So you've made $99,000 in growth because the market has gone up just a small 3% increase. Now, I'll tell you, over the last couple of years through COVID, it went up considerably more than 3%. Now, there are years it's going to drop as well, right? So you went up $99,000 in building your equity. But how much do you owe? That's an important question as well. So let me come over to a amortization. I'm going to show you guys all kinds of stuff. I should probably share this with you guys. Let's come down to present, share screen, and right here. Okay, let's try this one at bank rate. This should work. Okay, so our loan amount is not 289 because remember, times 0.965, you're putting 3.5% down. It's 278,885. Oh, 278,885 over 30 years at 7%. It should be 1855. It is. It's 1855. Okay, so the question is, after 10 years, how much do we owe? So we're going to come down, and this isn't exactly perfect because we're starting in February. But after the first year, we're at this 276. Second year, no, I can't get rid of it. We're at the 273. Okay. So after the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, we're at 240, 228. I'm just going to call it 240. So we owe 240 and it's worth 388. Okay. And now you sell it. All right. So you're selling the property. I'm going to add in purchase closing costs and sales closing costs. And I'm going to take the purchase closing costs off at the end, even though you've got them involved. Now, you could say, well, Joe, you told me I only needed 8,600 to 10 grand down. Yeah, I'm assuming that you're going to find a home and negotiate with a seller on them paying the closing costs. It will not happen on every home, but if you present that on 2, 3, 4 homes, 1, 2 of them will do it, right? So it will happen. If your main focus is building wealth, not finding the perfect home, which is exactly what I would tell my daughters to do, it'll happen. We need to get out of this mindset. This is my opinion, that a starter home is this new construction $425,000 1,900 square foot 3-bed 2-bath with beautiful everything, granite tile only flooring, 2-stall garage, brand new roof in a decent neighborhood. That is not the American, that's not a starter home. That is a second, third, fourth home, right? That's not what we bought into in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. That's something we expect now. This is a recent thing. And that's what's forcing a lot of people into continuing to rent. And in my opinion, for my friends, man, the people I love, the people watching this, it's what's holding them back. So let's start talking about closing costs. When you purchase up front, yes, I am assuming that the seller is going to build it in. So you're not going to pay him up front, right? But on the back end, you're going to have to pay him to sell them. Now, you can negotiate a real estate commission, but typically speaking, 6% is a pretty normal commission. Can you do 7? Yes. Can you do 5? Yes. 6 is pretty average. And on top of that, locally here, you tend to have about another 1 to 1.5% on top of that. And those are all your recording fees and taxes and a billion other things. So let's say on the high end, because I want you to buy into this, let's say 1.5% plus the 6% is 7.5%. Well, we're at 388. So I'm going to take 388 times 0.075. You're looking at $29,100. Let's just call it 29 grand. Okay. So I'm going to sell my home for 388. I'm going to incur the $29,000 in closing costs to sell it. And then I have to pay off my mortgage, which is now at 204. Okay. So I'm getting a check at closing 388 minus 29 minus, I said 204. It's 240. That leaves me a check for $119,000. Okay. Now, I want to go back to one of the reasons I was trying to figure out where we would be at is we started at 289 on a value. Now we're at 388 on a value. The middle of that is going to be 388 minus 50 is 338, is roughly 338. And I told you you'd have about a 1.5% a year. That's just my best guesstimate. That's what we put aside to be homeowners in expenses, right? And that's to fix your AC, which is going to be a little more expensive, or a water heater, or some years you won't have anything, but then the next year you're going to have 4 things, right? Or you're updating it to keep with the market, right? Or whatever it is, 1.5% of your value. So if our average value is about 338 times 1.5%, you're looking at $5,070. I'm going to multiply that by 10. You're looking at 50, 70, let's just call it 51 grand over the span of a year. So out of pocket, remember all of your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance came out to about 308, right? Plus, you paid another $51,000 just to maintain the place, right? All the different upgrades and the AC and the water heater and everything else we talked about. But you got to check at closing for $119,000. So when I take 308 plus 51, that means you're 359 out of pocket. And I think that's what a lot of people see. And they say, well, had I rented, I'd be 345 out of pocket. Right? The 359 is $14,000 more. Well, number one, that's only $1,400 a year more on average, right? So it's not a lot per year. It's a little over $100 a month more. But you're not getting that monster check for $119,000. So 359 minus the 119 is 240. You are literally $105,000 different in wealth in those two situations because you bought over rented. That is massive. That is massive. And that is the wealth difference that I'm really trying to sell you guys on. I'm trying to sell my kids on this. I'm trying to sell my family on this. Anybody who will get out of renting, I'm really trying to sell you on this because it will change your life. Will it be inconvenient? Yes. Will it be smaller than you want? Yes. Will it have as many bedrooms as you maybe want? Maybe not. But in one decision that lasts 10 years, maybe from age 25 to 35 or 32 to 42 or whatever it is, to be $105,000 to the green is a huge step towards wealth. And let me take it a step forward. Let's say you make that one decision at age 20 and now you're 30 and you got 100 grand. And you put that 100 grand in a bank account and you never put another dime into it. Let's see if I can get a, do I know how to get a, no, I don't know how to do it on here. I need a scientific calculator. So at age 30, and we're going to look to age 65. Now, stocks tend to go up about 10.05% a year if you're in an S&P 500. Minus your 0.05% fee, you're at 10% a year, right? That's typical stocks. Could it be lower if you've got bonds? Yeah. And would you? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into all that, but I'm just going to say an average 10% return, super easy. Throw it in. Will you lose 30% some years? Yes. Will you make 30%? Yes. But on average, you're going to average 10%, right? So 1.1 to the 35th power times that 100 grand. Oh, you know what? I got to go backwards. 1.1 to the 35th power. Why is this not working? To the 35th power. There we go. Times that $105,000. Oh, guys. If you did that at age 20, and at age 30, you sold that house and you took that $105,000 difference and poof, you put it into an account, right? And that account was invested in the S&P 500 and it averaged 10%. Some years it went up more, some years it went down more, whatever, but it averaged you 10 years or 10%. You never added to it. You never looked at it. By the time you turn 65, that account is going to be 2.95 million. So literally as a 20-year-old, if you simply decide to make two decisions, number one, buy instead of rent, and number two, take that difference after 10 years and invest it into an S&P 500 index fund and forget about it. Those two decisions will have cost you almost nothing more. Right? We said it was a little over $100 a month more. And you will have just under $3 million in your bank account. And this is on a $289,000 home. If we're talking about you're renting at $3 grand or 3,500 or whatever, the numbers get crazier to the good. So guys, I do this every 2-3 months because it is my life's passion to get people out of renting and into owning, transforming their wealth. I want you taking me out to lunch in 10 years saying, Joe, give me that bald head. I want to kiss it. Thank you so much for talking me into do this. My life is completely different. And then when you're 65 and I'm probably 87, you can take me out for coffee because I don't know if I can stay up so late to make it to lunch. I'm going to be 87 years old. And you can thank me then because now you've got just under $3 million. And all your other friends are still renting and they got $8,700 in their bank account. And you've got $2.95 million in your bank account. That's a massive difference. Guys, if you've got any questions, comments, ideas for future videos, whatever, if you want to sit down and run this math for you particularly, let me know. This is the thing I'm most excited about in life. Have a phenomenal day, guys.